I would normally ask some questions, but time is of the essence. So I think Erica Koenig Workman has a question, so I shall quickly pass it, the spotlight to you, Erica.
Go. Thank you very much. This has been absolutely excellent. I really loved the presentations. Obviously, we could be here all day, I think, discussing these things. And I've learned so much from each of you today. And Phil, thank you so much for putting this on. This is a very interesting topic, and to me, for a number of reasons. But I guess, you know, like I've written a whole bunch of notes because I'm that kind of person. But I wonder if any of you have done any research into the gaming culture. You know, the younger people who are in that particular, you know, group, like generally speaking, not always, but it's a younger group that's in that. And then maybe there is even a higher, older group in that, you know, that is in the gaming culture, and in, you know, where you're, because that's a whole other kind of media, you know what I mean? Rather than just TV, social media, Netflix or whatever. Yeah. That's a whole other big area now.
Okay, so any of the panelists, any of the three had a look at the gaming? I think Alex has popped his hand up there. So
yeah, so we did a study a few years ago. A colleague of mine, a previous colleague of mine called Jo Cranwell, and she looked at alcohol and tobacco content based on the age ratings of games. As far as I'm aware, though, things haven't really progressed on that front. We are looking at YouTube videos at the moment, and we are hoping to possibly identify some top streamers via YouTube. But I am aware that there are different platforms to use, such as Twitch, for example. And you are right. It's a medium at the minute that is currently being missed, and I think that it is one that we do need to explore and kind of get with the times on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Erica. Is anybody of the other people who've been watching, if any of you got a question, please switch your camera on, or if you have the capability and wave. And if I see Jean is switched on, and I suspect has a question.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. You remembered my name, Phil.
I do.
Thinking back to see a girl. So there you go. That's the conception gone. No, to the three speakers, this has been a real eye-opener from my angle. So thank you very much for this. Because I come from the extreme end of what you do. I, in fact, do the laboratory testing and for alcohol consumption, and you know, people who have abused alcohol excessively. And in fact, Phil became familiar with my speech last time through one of his meetings, whereby people were totally unaware that there is a test to show people in black and white that they are at risk of alcohol consumption. So seeing how you've approached it from a media angle has been very interesting for me to see. And Alex, you sort of, the way you outlined the drinking among the younger generation is quite alarming in a way. So I do hope that this has successes, because these are the people who will be chronic abusers in the future. And it is quite alarming. And Dr. Atkinson, I was fascinated by this sort of women being used in alcohol advertising, and doing this, in fact, in my presentation. I tend to use a quote from your university, where there were missing units of alcohol not put in things, which is theoretically linked with alcohol consumption. And my, if you like, promotion at the moment is women who are in the first trimester of pregnancy, who are totally unaware that they could be pregnant, mm-hmm. and keep consuming alcohol, and then this causes damage, any damage to the unborn child. These are people who should be checked and tested, particularly among the younger population, as you say. otherwise we're in a terrible situation in the future. My only worry as well is it's really great, Alison, that you're getting these people sort of moving away or shying away from alcohol sponsorship in sports and other activities. My only issue is where is all that money going to go, and how they're going to find ways to approach people in the future. I don't know if any of the speakers have tackled that situation already. You know, we're moving away from media, and I can see it's happening. I've had exchanges in the past based on the work that I do from a laboratory, and in that you got alcohol companies, I think AEG is a massive one. No, Diageo is a massive alcohol firm. And I think that even the governments find it very restrictive in how to control such alcohol firms from sponsorship, because all the money comes from them. And I don't know how you tackle underlying things, as Erica has just mentioned, in the gaming world. You know, it's already getting there, but what other sources can you see being a problem in the future?
So, Kes, I'll pass that to Alison, since she was the last mention there. So, I mean, is there kind of hope that this can be brought under control by, you know, national governments, or does there need to be some sort of international cooperation on it?
I mean, I think when it comes to sports sponsorship, you know, we were surprised that it didn't represent a larger proportion of the sports sponsorship. We can't quantify it. This is the problem. You can't get financial information. So some of these arrangements may be incredibly lucrative and therefore very important for the clubs in receipt of them. But it is a relatively small minority of the total number of sponsors that clubs do have. I mean, obviously, we don't really want to displace people into accepting gambling sponsorship, for example, you know, because it's just like, well, here we go, we're replacing one, you know, health harming set of corporations for another. But it's also interesting the variety of different types of sponsors, you know, from banks and digital providers to car manufacturers, you know. So I think the idea, you know, people will say, oh, you would kill off sport. And I just don't think there's any evidence for that. You know, we managed it with tobacco. There's no reason why we can't do it with alcohol. Other companies will come in to replace them. That's, I think we could confidently predict that.
Can I just come back to you quickly again on the? I think it was obviously something that Alex brought up probably while you were still wrestling with technology, but the idea of in program product placement, whether or not is there a way of dealing with that under the proposals that you're making?
I definitely think that's something that, you know, would be desirable to control that, and that's what the children were telling us, that, you know, it wasn't necessarily just the adverts between the TV programs. It was what was appearing in the TV programs, and, you know, the wider societal norming point as well about just how prevalent alcohol consumption is in, you know, whether it's film or TV programs. Every soap opera seems to revolve around a pub, for example. So, you know, yeah, I definitely think that there's more that could be done in terms of that placement, but also just the norming.
Okay, I think Alex had his hand up. Kelly has an answer. So,
just jumping on the sports sponsorship issue. Something that we found from our own research into the F1 is that there's issues on who actually regulates this. So because it's technically an advert, but because it's within a program, it's not covered by the Advertising Standards Authority. But Ofcom's remit doesn't cover sports sponsorship at televised sporting events. So it's not covered by anyone. we did some previous research looking at tobacco sponsorship in the F1, and this is the Mission Winnow, which is the Philip Morris Alibi brand. And we showed that that was being shown, and it was being shown to millions of younger people. And we managed to work with ASH and approach the UK government to get that banned. But when we showed the alcohol sponsorship and the wider effect that had, no one wanted to cover it. And I think that part of the issue is that with tobacco sponsorship, you have the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which can then prevent that advertising, whereas there's nothing for alcohol. And I think that's needed, but that's something for the WHO, I guess.
Thanks
Well,
very
I'd be
much
really
for that.
interested to pick that up with you.
Yep, sorry, Alison. Yes, and just we're running out of time. I know Alison has to whiz off, so I'll just quickly put one question. If you have to go, Alison, that's obviously not a problem. Don't feel tired. But I was going to put one quick question to Amanda about, obviously this genderization of alcohol marketing, and I just wondered whether there is really a way of screening out, these gender stereotypes that are unhelpful. Is that, without really sort of reaching into almost sociological, setting down some sociological rules, is there ever any way that we can sort of stop people from representing people perhaps in ways that they don't benefit from?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. The the new guidelines that are meant to be there to prevent gender stereotypes being harmful, sexualization, they're there, but again, we don't know whether they're being effective. With any system that's reactionary, if we think about the venue marketing there, there's examples of content being banned, but and this applies to brands as well. But once it's being shown, then the effect's already there. I mean, the process is so slow, and we know that controversial content almost raises more attention. So I mean, BrewDog have got a good history of doing this. Having controversial campaigns related to gender. I mean, their pink beer campaign got more attention because of that, because of the backlash towards it. So our system is completely reactionary, and we have these new codes around gender. We don't know whether they're being effective, but what one person sees as harmful in relation to gender might differ to someone else's. So in my personal opinion, the obsession with pink is harmful. There's nothing wrong with pink itself, but it just narrows the choice and the imagery that women view. Another woman and a section of the feminist movement have reclaimed pink as a symbol of empowerment and femininity, the expression and celebration. So I think it's always difficult to reach a consensus of what is regarded as harmful, which I think is why the new codes are very vague. I think an example would be of a harmful stereotype would be a woman prioritising appearance over work, for example. But we don't really have many examples of brands doing that. They might focus purely on appearance, but they're not giving the impression that appearance is more important than other activities. So I think it's very, very difficult. I mean, obviously bans would prevent the use of gender. But yeah, I really don't have an answer. I think it's really difficult. And I suppose it's, the same as any other form of connotations within marketing. It's, the only way to kind of get rid of them is to have, policies that just allow factual information, and for example. But no, it's very difficult. I mean, and we're only talking about media here. We're not even considering the whole range of media. I'm currently doing some work looking at women's magazines, how alcohol was framed post lockdown. A lot of health messages around women drinking more during lockdown, advice there. But the majority of health messages are completely dominated in relation to losing weight because you've put weight on during lockdown because you've been drinking more, and you might want to reduce your drinking to get the perfect body. So again, health messages there about reducing drinking, but maybe not the best underlying gender messages around, well, you know, a woman has to look a certain way. And I think just to comment that some kind of health promotion actually uses these stereotypes to almost scare women into not drinking. And from my perspective of, you know, merging gender studies, feminist studies and public health, you know, we shouldn't replace one anxiety around drinking levels with raising women's concerns about body and weight to try and prevent them from drink. We're just displacing one health issue, I think, with another. But there's, you know, many examples of those messages being used to encourage women not to drink as well, which I think is interesting.